Hey everybody, welcome back to the shop. Today we're giving you an update on the 200SX project. It has been a little while since we've had an update, but we have been busy. There's been a little bit of delay because the 240 has been back to autocross's first event this season, where it did fantastically. We spent a lot of time massaging the fenders on it, getting wheel clearance, put a new starter in it, gave it a good once over, and not only did it pull me to a P6 out of over 100 cars at autocross, which was the best result I've ever had, but it also managed to bring my cousin to his very first autocross event as a driver, and he had a great time. So thank you, Red, and thank you to all my supporters that helped me keep that thing going and keep these projects a thing. So what's been going on with Wally? Wait, why is it called Wally? Well, I have been live streaming the progress over on Twitch and uploading those VODs over here to YouTube if you want to see the full pull as we go through every little bit of this car. But yeah, a lot has happened since I last gave a full video update, so I'm going to let the car do a little talking and show you just how far it's come, and then we'll go over all the things that have happened since our last update. So just to get you up to speed, here's the list of all the things that we knew we needed to do on the car. Fuel injectors and seals, fan clutch, clutch master and slave, air filter, brakes, battery terminals, butt terminals, tires, check the fluids, headlights, gauge cluster, alternator, exhaust, downpipe, exhaust coils, motor mounts, oil change, all of that stuff, plus I'm sure more that I'm forgetting. As of the last time that I gave you an update, I'm sure the exhaust coil is about the only thing we had accomplished. So as of the last update, it was running, albeit not very well. So, how is it today? Well, I can tell you that it is still running, and in fact, it does a whole lot more than that. So,
Key is in the ignition.
oh,
Key is in the ignition.
well, it turns out the key is in the ignition, so we might as well go ahead and fire it up.
Key is in the ignition.
That's right. Not only does it run, the gauge cluster works, the headlights work if you give one a little bit of assistance. They're working, they go up with a little assistance and back down. This car is really coming along. So, how did we get here? This is one of those cases where from the outside it probably doesn't look like we've done much of anything at all. But trust me, a lot has changed under here. So, I think we last left off with working on the ignition system. So we put coils in. Actually, I think we only had the one coil in. Well, we now have both coils hooked up. So they are both hooked up with the more modern S13 style ignition coil and igniter. And that is working absolutely fine, which means we have all 8 spark plugs working just like they were from the factory. I don't know if we had done it at the time, but we did go ahead and put a clamp on the charge pipe. Let's see. I don't know if we had done this or not, but we did actually remove the fuel pump from the car. So back here, I did take the fuel pump assembly out, and what we found was that it was pretty corroded on the outside. We were very worried that the tank was going to be rusty inside, but that actually ended up not being the case. The fuel pump and the pickup and everything is in really, really good shape. Somebody did a good job of keeping this tank in good shape despite how bad it looked on the outside. We did lose the 2 wires that go to the fuel level sender, so that's not currently hooked up, but that's a future problem. God, Gotta remember to get struts for the back of this hatch. That hatch is heavy. So as of the last update, we did have the coils working and it was running, but it wasn't running particularly well. So we started the process of trying to figure out why was it not running particularly well. Obviously, we checked the fuel pump and it has great fuel pressure. Everything seems to be totally fine there. One of the main things I wanted to look at was the fuel injectors, and we ended up pulling the number one fuel injector because it's so easy to get to in order to see what the situation was there. And what we found was a pretty gnarly situation. This is a very used up injector. It's missing its pintle cap. I don't know if it'll focus on it, but I'm pretty sure you can tell it's grotty. The interesting thing is, it's unique. The other three are the OEM injectors. I'm pretty sure these have been in the car since it was, brand new. All of these had some very shoddy looking O-rings on them. I think I've gone ahead and thrown those away at this point, but you can trust me, they were gross. So basically, we discovered that the car was running on 3 cylinders. I had pulled that first injector, and there was no change to the engine, so number one injector was just dead. So at that point, I went ahead and did some eBaying and found that somebody was selling rebuilt injectors for these at a very reasonable price. I think they're like $35 each. And I put one in, engine started running on 4. So at that point, I decided that we might as well do all 4. So we have 4 new rebuilt injectors in there, all with new O-rings. Getting this rail in and out isn't the most fun thing in the world, but it's actually not too bad because it's the style that uses, as you saw here, a hose that is crimped to the injector. Normally not a huge fan of these. In this case, it actually made getting the rail in and out pretty easy, and it ensures that there is not leaks of air in between the injector and the intake manifold, which is nice because the injector actually bolts down around this plastic housing. All right, well, apparently we have a little bit of an audience today. Hi, hello. It's pretty hard to find an audience on YouTube these days, but at least I can always get one in the garage. Okay, so from there, let's see. It was still running a little iffy at times. We took off the throttle body and cleaned that out. It occurs to me we may have briefly forgotten a thing that happened. So after getting it running, there was a good period there where it would just run fine and everything seemed great. But it certainly seemed like it was struggling a bit. First thing we did was cut off the exhaust, because if you remember when we first got it started, a bunch of acorns and stuff shot out the back of it, and we were like, well, the cat's probably plugged, the exhaust is probably plugged. Well, I have the exhaust off fully now, and that's what has come out of it. You guys still doing all right? Still doing good? Good, glad to hear it. And then inside, the cat is actually, here, let me get some light. There's an active spider in there, isn't there? There's the mesh of the material of the cat is actually not collapsed, so it's pretty decent. It's got some cracks in it, and I'm gonna replace it. I'm sure we can get something that's a little bit more high flowing. The rest of the exhaust system is just terrible. Like, it was awful. Bunch of patches in it. You can see it's all crimp bent. It changes sizes 3 times, so it's all gonna go. But at the end of the day, what I've discovered is that the exhaust wasn't really the issue. But when we cut it off, it was, running long enough that we started to hear this horrible sounding noise coming out of the turbo. Just a random, like, that's the best way I can describe the way that it sounded. I don't think I ever got decent audio of it. I'll try and find some. And let this be a lesson to you. If you have an intake that is open to the world, and it's a car that's been sitting for any amount of time, hey, maybe check it out first. I didn't think it could be true. I honestly did not think it could be true. I cannot believe this. I swear to you, this is not staged. There's a freaking walnut in the turbo. And make sure that something hasn't gone down there and placed a walnut on the turbo. Kudos to both the Walnut and the Turbo for surviving that. And after getting all of that back together, there still wasn't too terribly much change. So, this is an older turbo engine. It's got lots of vacuum lines, but honestly, it's not the most ridiculous I've ever seen on the vacuum line department. It's not a Mitsubishi. those are usually the worst, but honestly, the 300Z also looks a lot worse than this. But it was a pretty, clear indication to me that as sporadically as it would idle, and it would just have some moments that there was a vacuum leak somewhere. Tried to use the old carb cleaner trick to find it, and I'm going to give you a warning right now. Carb cleaner has a very low flash point, so if you do that, probably make sure the engine's not too warmed up before you try it. Oh, frick. Hose? Got it. Why are you still running? Why are you still running? Oh, alternator. Well, the good news is we burned off some of the impurities there. The weirdest thing is, after we caught it on fire, it actually started running a lot better. And honestly, the more we ran it, the better it would run. Easy to say, but it's true. Like, the more it ran, it would, just blowing the cobwebs out, as they say. It would get better and better. But it still idle hunted and just acted weird. So the next logical thing to do was to look at the idle air control valve. This is the idle air control valve here. It has these funky hoses that bring it to the front. This is only a little piston slide air bleed adjuster, so how much air the idle air control valve can get is adjusted here, but this is where the actual valving happens. This goes into the intake manifold. So we went ahead and pulled that off, and in the process of doing that, found a pretty hefty vacuum leak right here. Is that completely loose? It is! Look! We just accidentally found something, y'all. Look at this vacuum line. I have not touched this bottom one at all. And look at it. Look at it. And since we had it off, we might as well clean it out, because these commonly get covered in carbon. Gross. Carbon wasn't really the issue here. Oh my God. Y'all, that's a creature. That ain't no nut. It's a bee. It's got wings. Yeah, it's a bee. So, in this engine, we have found a walnut shell in the turbo and this bee in the idle air control valve. And I think that pretty much catches you up to speed to where we are. We got the idle air control valve reinstalled and the vacuum leak fixed. It does seem to run pretty good. It has some hesitation sometimes. It does a little bit of idle hunting at times, but it's also a 40-year-old electronic fuel-injected car. It's probably going to have some weirdness there, but at this point it seems like it's ready to get the thing set up to be on the road so that we can actually do some testing with it, see how it's running. Maybe it just needs a little bit more cobweb cleaning. But we pretty much have replaced everything to do with the fuel and ignition system on it that we can tell needs to be replaced, and we'll go from there. So there you go. That's the update on the 200. It's going really, really well now. I feel like we've crested the point of, feeling like it's an impossible goal to now it feels possible, and I'm really excited to try and get this thing on the road. My goal is to have it roadworthy by May, because in May, my dad is coming on up, my parents are coming up, and I would like at least to be able to take him around in the 200 and let him experience what the S12 is like, because he, like me, kind of grew to really love the S13s, and neither of us really knew anything about the S12s. So I would really love to be able to hand him the keys and be like, hey, it's your car for the weekend, have at it. But we'll see if we can get there. But thank you again, everybody, for your support. This channel is now 100% automotive content, so just stay tuned for lots more of this. Okay, all right. You want to see the gauge cluster work some more?
Keys in the ignition.
Keys in the ignition.
Keys in the ignition.
That's all you get for now,
In the ignition.
because the key
Keys in the ignition.
is in the ignition. So after getting the whole gauge cluster out and, taking it apart and looking at all the power supply stuff, we finally came back over here to the fuse panel. And in the fuse panel, we took out this fuse, which is for, I think it's called the backup lamp meter fuse, because it was driving a vacuum pump that was making bad noises. And all of these fuses were in the car when we first got it, and the gauge cluster didn't work, so we kind of didn't put a lot of stock into it. But upon review, not just this fuse was missing, the clock fuse and I believe the illumination lamp fuse were both blown. So it had quite a few issues here in the fuse box. And that is because a typical terrible radio install. Somebody hacked up the radio harness and very, very badly hacked it up and shorted out a bunch of wires, which caused some fuses to pop. So that is why all of the electronics were not working in the car. So easy as that, we're back in business.